through these one at a time then. So first up, we're going to have a look at question number 1. This is a classic question which has got a whole load of information which you probably haven't seen before. So the monomer, again, you might remember that word, doesn't really matter if you don't at the moment. Chloroethene, probably never heard of that before, is made from ethene, probably haven't heard of that, in a 2-stage process. The first stage is to convert ethene into 1,2-dichloroethane. Never heard of it. Right, so this again has got some unknown information in it. So what do we actually have to do? Well, it says state and explain the effect of increasing the pressure on the yield of 1,2-dichloroethane. So actually, this is a very standard question. State and explain the effect of increasing the pressure on the yield. Okay, the bit that makes it difficult is they've got this word here, 1,2-dichloroethane, but of course that's just this here. I've got a bit of a dodgy format here, but that's this stuff. All right, so whenever you're dealing with pressure, it's all about looking at the number of molecules on each side. Okay, so if you look at this side, the left side, there are 2 plus 4, 6 plus 1, 7 molecules on the left. There are 2 plus 2, 4 molecules on the right. So there are fewer molecules on the right-hand side. Therefore, right, so what's the state and explain the effect of increasing pressure. When you increase the pressure, it always goes to the side with the least molecules. So therefore, it goes to this side. So the effect on the yield is that it will increase. All right, and that will give you one of your 2 marks. That's stating it, and then to explain it, you're going to write because there are less particles on the right. Okay, so that's a pretty standard question. So remember, whenever you increase the pressure, it always goes to the side with the least number of particles, and the opposite is also true. If you decrease the pressure, it would go to the side with the most particles. The word yield means the amount, and by definition, the yield, you're always talking about the stuff on the right-hand side. Okay, next bit is about rate. Now, they often put rate and yield into the same question. All right, these two things are not connected. All right, so that's the speed of it, that's how much you make. So just be very careful here. So the rate of reaction, when you increase the pressure, you should remember from previous that the rate will increase. Why? Because there are more particles in a given volume. You must put this bit on the end. You can't just say more particles. All right, so more particles in a given volume. Right, and of course that means there are more successful collisions. Now, in actual fact, because only 2 marks, they only needed one of those 2 in this particular case, but for your full description of why increasing pressure increases rate, that's what you should be writing. Okay, right, so the next part, or the final part I should say, says here the second stage, 1,2-dichloroethane is converted into chloroethene. All right, again, these names, they look scary, but it's not too bad really, because actually what is it asking about? It says this reaction is a thermal decomposition. You may or may not know what that means. But then it says suggest what would need to be done to decompose 1,2-dichloroethane. The word suggest means it could well be something you haven't been taught directly. And it essentially means use your knowledge and skills to have your best guess. So it says what would need to be done to decompose, right? This is a thermal decomposition. Decompose means break apart. And if you look at this molecule here, you can see it's breaking into 2 things. So somehow we've got to decompose it. And of course, really what they're looking for is, do you know what that word means? If it's a thermal decomposition, what would you need to do? Heat it.